Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Virginia Beach on a windy, blustery Christmas Eve. So this morning, we're going to do a little impromptu video. First off, let me do a couple of announcements. Of course, we have the stars enabled today, so if you just so choose to fund our venture here, you can do it through stars. Also, we are now active on Patreon. For those of you who aren't familiar with Patreon, what it is a third-party site where you can support Ghost of the Battlefield directly through a $5 subscription. And on Patreon, what that gets you, it gets you early access to videos and movies and posts. It also gets you exclusive content that it will not be posted on Facebook as well. So please check us out on Patreon. That is one way of supporting what we do here. Also, stars are available that you can send here right now. So without further ado, what are we doing this morning? We are going to do a little impromptu cleaning class. I figured it been a while since I've done a video, so I got to get out here and do one. And we are going to be paying particular interest to the Model 1917 Enfield. We were lucky enough at the museum to receive in the last 3 days several donations, one of them being the 03 Springfield you see in the middle of the screen, and the 1917 in the bottom of the screen, as well as some other items that we'll detail at other times. So, what you see here is basically the United States military weapons of the turn of the 19/20th centuries. At the top, you see the 1897 trench gun. Below that, the Model 1898 cracked Jorgensen rifle, the Model 03 Springfield, the 1911 pistol, and the Model 1917 Enfield. So, of those five guns, we're going to be talking about the 1917 Enfield today. So, we will remove these from the image. And the store is open today. There are people walking by. There will be phones ringing in the background. There will be things going on. We will detail all these other ones in other videos. We're just talking about the Enfield today. I chose that one randomly. Actually, hold on. Let me leave this one up here for a second. Okay. So, this is kind of the unsung, unrecognized hero of World War I. This right here is the Model 1917 Enfield rifle, a 30 caliber rifle, also known as the American Enfield. Everyone's familiar with the 03 Springfield, right? The infamous 03 Springfield, a good rifle, a solid rifle. But in fact, I think after you watch this video, you'll realize this one's actually a little bit better. So, removing the 03 Springfield from the equation, we now have the 1917. So you're probably going to ask, how did this gun come about? The Model 1917 Enfield, the American Enfield, or officially the United States Rifle Caliber 30 Model 1917, was actually the numerically superior weapon of World War I. More of these were used in World War I by U.S. forces than the 03 Springfield. And in doing the research for this morning's broadcast, I actually saw that this rifle is still in use today in a military fashion. The Danish Sirius dog sled team that patrols the tundra of Greenland still uses this as their main service rifle, still today. And that is mainly due to the fact that it is so well made and it actually lends itself very well to Arctic conditions. Quick history is that before World War I, the British had the short magazine Lee Enfield rifle. We're all familiar with the Smelly. We'll do a video on them at some point. And the war breaking out caused a severe shortage of weapons for England. And so what they had gone and done is they had contracted with American companies to produce the rifle that was being designed at the time known as the Pattern 14. As it entered World War I, the UK had an urgent need for rifles. The contracts were signed with American companies, and the rifle was chambered in the .303 British caliber. This is for convenience of ammunition and logistics during World War I. Obviously, a very crucial thing. The new rifle, termed the Pattern 14, was in fact the P14. It was made by Winchester and Remington. So Winchester of New Haven, Connecticut, and Remington of Ilion, New York, were contracted to make these rifles for the British in .303 caliber, not in a 30 caliber that you see here. America begins to enter the war, and at this point, Springfield Armory had delivered 843,000 1903 Springfield rifles, which is not nearly enough to support their several million man-strong army. And due to the difficulties in production of the 03, The three companies, Winchester, Remington, and eventually Eddystone Arsenal, that was added later, were tapped to continue making the pattern 14 rifle that they were making for England at the time, but in American caliber. They did that for obviously ease of ammunition. So the Remington and Winchester, and then eventually the Baldwin Locomotive Works at Eddystone, Pennsylvania, started making this rifle. And they would eventually go on to make more of these than there were 03 Springfields. So the production numbers are simple. The Eddystone actually made more of them. They made 1.1 million of the rifle, whereas Remington and Winchester both made about 500,000 apiece. So in just a year, they made 2 million rifles, whereas Springfield had only made 843,000 of the Springfield. The design changes were very few. The stripper clip feed system was slightly different. Instead of using the British style stripper clip, they used American. Had internal box magazine. Still held 5 rounds. The 1917 bayonet was the same as the British SMLE. They're interchangeable, has 16.5-inch blade, and that you also could be used on the 97 and M12 trench guns. The new rifle used alongside the 1903 Springfield quickly surpassed Springfield's design in numbers and produced by November 1911. 75%, that's 3 out of 4 American soldiers in Europe were using this rifle, not the 03 Springfield. 1917 Enfield rifle was used by Alvin C. York during his famous October 8th, 1918 event where he captured all the Germans and was awarded the Medal of Honor. In his diary, Alvin York said that he had used both his 1917 Enfield and his 1911 pistol. This one being a 1913 production, so that's 100% correct for that. Of course, in the movie where he's played by Gary Cooper, he uses a 1903 Springfield and a German Luger. Completely wrong. After the armistice, the 1917 Enfield rifles were quickly put back into storage, and I don't really understand why, because there were still more Enfields, and they were a vastly superior weapon. Not vastly, but they were a superior weapon. I'll go into reasoning why here in a second. They were placed in storage, but they were still issued to chemical mortar companies, which was odd. And that was all the way up to World War II. They continued to use them in chemical mortar companies. Talking about the differences in construction of the 03, my favorite thing about this weapon is the sights. The sights are vastly superior to the 03. They use a peep style for battle range, and then for distance firing, you continue to use another aperture on the back. If you look at the 03 Springfield rifle, these sights are a simple V-notch, which if you ever looked down the sights of this, you'll see that it's very, very hard to see. And again, when you flip the sight, a V-notch. Of course, the style sight on the 1917 continues on. The same sight picture is seen on the M1 Garand and the Carbine and the 03A3, all the way through the M16, actually. This particular rifle is a Remington. So this one was made in Ilion, New York. This rifle is in overall very good condition, but it does have some dried oil in the action. Someone had polyurethane the stock at some point. You see that sheen on there. That's not oiled really well. It's got polyurethane on it. But if you look on the sides, you'll see it does have a full set of cartouches down the side, which is always nice to see. It does not, this one is not fitted for the volley sights. So that holes for the volley sights are missing, which indicate it's probably reworked at a later date. So as America enters World War II, and there's some neat things about this real quick, and then we'll get into taking it apart. When America entered World War II, they still had the 1917s in those chemical mortar companies, like I'd said. So when you say chemical mortar company, you're like, what the heck is that? The chemical mortar companies were the guys that were responsible for laying down smoke screens. So it sounds a lot more interesting than it is. They used a 4.2-inch mortar that laid down smoke screens. Of course, people think it's for gas attacks. Of course, we didn't use that. So they were considered to be chemical mortarmen if you were to lay down smoke screens or use larger caliber mortars. But then World War II breaks out, and we have an extreme shortage of weapons. Of course, the M1 Garand, which we have covered in length, coming off the production lines at this point. So the 1970s were taken out of storage and were issued to everyone having to do with artillery. So artillerymen, mortarmen, infantry mortarmen, they were all issued these, starting with the campaigns in North Africa. You see these used in North Africa. There are several stories of rear echelon troops in France still seeing 1917 being used as a frontline weapon. There is one interesting historical side note here, that is that these weapons were issued in great numbers to the Philippines, the Philippine Commonwealth Army, and the Philippine Constabulary. Also, they were issued in big numbers to the Chinese. Now, this comes into play later. So they're issued in tens of thousands to the Chinese. And so then when we go to war against China in Korea, guess what turns up? That's right, we see lots of these being used by communist North Korean and Chinese troops during Korea. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this weapon to be used in a modern warfare situation. Like I said, it's very robust. The receiver is all one solid cast piece. You see here the bolt release. The sight is protected by these heavy wings on the side. The bolt, actually, this is one of the best features of the rifle. It features the canted back bolt, whereas the 03 Springfield is straight up and down. This allows a much smoother use because of this cant in the bolt handle. So we are going to start taking this thing apart here, and let me reset the stage real quick. This is going to be kind of an unboxing video because we don't know what's underneath this stock. It could be solid rust, and we'll have to back off and do some magic on it and then come back at a later date. So we'll remove the sling first because you could have a whole video on just how to set these slings up properly. Again, if anyone has any questions or any comments, please feel free to throw them up on the section there. I have to walk over to the computer every now and then and look and see if anyone's talking. But unfortunately with a star setup, I only see people that post with stars, but I can click it over to the other one too. So we're going to undo the sling here, and we're going to take our time to not completely undo it, so that way when we put it back on later, we can not have to struggle with that. But at some point we're going to have a video on maintenance of leather, because there's a lot of confusion about that. That is one area where a lot of people tend to have a lot of different opinions. Well, we should do a video on that one. All right, so now we're back on the hard mat. To remove the bolt of the 1917, there's just a simple switch on the side. You pull the lever up, and the bolt comes out. Quite simple. This is considered field stripped at this point. You really, as in the field, shouldn't take it down any further than this. But for the purposes of today, we're going to have to go a little further. Now, if you look on the bottom of the floor plate here, you see this weird patch. What that is that is dried oil. That oil could be 100 years old, literally. It could literally be 100 years old oil on there. There is a cartouche right here, a cartouche right there, and here's the inspector stamps of Springfield Armory. And if you look at the stock, you see it's actually very caked on, very thick. It might be dried linseed oil, but we'll find out one way or another. That's going to probably take some doing. We'll have to come back to that. But we're going to take the floor plate off here real quick. And I am working around the camera. So again, if there was any comments, please just throw them up there. I should see them. And try to not ramble for an hour today. That's why I have a video playing in the background of trench sounds. I know exactly how long the video is, and if it starts getting near the end, I know that it's time to be quiet. Okay, so we're going to pull the floor plate off, and there's your follower. And we have some pretty gnarly dust down there. Hopefully that's not dried mustard gas. I actually knew a guy that actually was into military stuff, and he actually ended up getting tangled up in some dried chemical agent of an unknown origin, and it really messed him up, ate the skin off his hands. I should probably be wearing gloves, but we will do it daringly today. I take the undo the screw of the barrel band. Luckily for us today, everything is coming off relatively easily. We're not fighting any frozen screws just yet. We only have one screw left to beat, so I probably just jinxed myself by saying that. All right, there's that. And we do have one sheet here today. We have an ultrasonic cleaner, which is one of the services that the store end of Ghost of the Battlefield provides. And let me tell you, if you've ever had to clean anything, all right, there's the last screw and we're good. If if you ever had to clean anything like this in particular, an ultrasonic cleaner is really the way to go. It uses sound waves to remove things, particularly like caked on, baked on, dried on oil. I think what we'll do is we'll see if we can't get the camera over there when I put them in. My only concern is that the sound of the ultrasonic cleaner will mess with the sound on the camera a little bit. Come on. Okay, so yeah, I have to punch that out. You want to be careful with your screws. Obviously, you don't want to round off any heads. If you do happen to round it off, it's not the end of the world. If you have any bit of competent metal fixing skills, you can fix it relatively easy. Okay, so, oh wow, look at that, came right, oh, excellent. Came right off. Excellent, okay. So you see on here the dried oil, that glinty, that's dried oil. All right, we do experiencing some rust under here. Not too bad, more dried oil. Put those aside. And now the whole action should just fall out of the gun. Yes. All right, what do we got? It's an unboxing video, ladies and gentlemen. Here's a time capsule. So we have some more of that orangish dirt. Oh, look at that. A cartouche right there in the stock. I don't know if you can see it. Right here, R for Remington. Very neat. Actually, let me move the light source. There you go, you can see it. R for Remington, beautiful. For us military weapons guys, you always love finding little cartouches everywhere. It really makes your day. My wife probably thinks I'm crazy. Look at the dried oil on that sucker. That is pretty gooey. Looking at the barrel, all the proof marks on the bottom. Oh, I hope I put in the cameras. There's not bad. There's no rust, just a lot of dried oil. There's the ordnance bomb right there, the acceptance stamp right there. Okay, and then this should come off. Yes. All right. So let's take this over to the ultrasonic cleaner. I'm going to move the camera here for a second. All right, so this is our big Power Pro ultrasonic cleaner. And is there a way I can, oh, I can raise this up. Wow, look at that. I should have this a little better. Okay, so if you ever want to clean a rifle, this is the way to do it. I've already preheated the tank, so it's a little warm in there. Found out a fun, interesting fact. Don't, whatever you do, don't put your hand in it while it's running, because at first it doesn't feel bad. In fact, it might feel good, and then it doesn't feel so good anymore. So we're gonna take all of our metal parts. We might have to do this in two parts today because this takes a little bit of time. I should have thought ahead of time. Just lay them right on the basket, and it's gonna fall in there. That's great. There we go. And that, and I have somewhere, well, we'll deal with that later. Okay. Gonna lay this in here, and then, oh, it fits. That's good. Okay. 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 I'm just going to drop it down in solution. So what we're using today is we are using a very simple solution of Simple Green. Simple Green works really well at cutting crud. And I'm going to have to lean the camera over because you're going to want to see this part. All right, everyone, hang on with me. I'm probably going to lose the sound here for a second, but you're going to want to see what happens when I engage the system.
Hi, how are you?
There we go. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. I'm not going to be able, you probably won't be able to hear me for a minute, but I'll move the camera away. But watch as all of the crud on the gun, and you can actually see it already starting to lift, comes off. maybe. If I didn't hit the power switch on the back of it. 1 second. I don't know if you can hear me. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up, someone. Nope, didn't think so. You can really see the clouds forming. What that is those are the individual pockets of the oil that's dried being blasted by sound waves and turning into a dust while underwater. Gonna move here for a second. We're gonna come back to the table. And we're going to talk about wood. You go ahead and put the lid back on that thing, make it a little quieter. All right, can I get a thumbs up out there so you can hear me? Thumbs up for a sound check. There we go. All right. Okay, so what we have to deal with now is the stock. Like we had said before, this has what I think might be polyurethane on it, but it could just be dried linseed oil. So we're going to do a little test here. To work on wood, you're never going to want to sand these things. Don't ever use sandpaper unless there are times when you can use sandpaper when it's that bad. For instance, restoring a G98 right here. This one was broken in half. You have to go ahead and recontour something. I still managed to save the markings over here. That's one thing, but if you have to recontour something, I mean, you have to sand it eventually. But for situations like this, you're gonna want to preserve as much of the original finish as possible. Of course, someone has caked on something here, but what we want to do is we're gonna look at this area right here. You see the proof marks? We're gonna take a tough steel wool. This is very high grit. We're just gonna see how well this stuff comes off. Now, we're gonna use a little bit of an astringent here. I'm gonna use some acetone just in case this is oil. See if that helps it come off. For any of you who saw the video where I blew myself up on this very same bench, this is what happened. All right, so we are gonna come on up to the camera here and see what we see. Hopefully this stuff just peels off. And it does. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. So you see it chipping off. Oh, look at the grain on this is gonna be gorgeous. It's absolutely gonna be gorgeous. So we are gonna go ahead and do the whole thing. Give it some more astringent on there, some more acetone. Look at it bubble up. It's gonna come right off. Look at that. Gorgeous. See that? That's just dried oil coming off. But the stock is some beautiful grain. This is original walnut stock. Sometimes these were restocked with birch later afterwards. Oh, look at oh, this is absolutely gorgeous. I'm sorry if I'm gonna sound like a total nerd right here, but this is what you want to see. This is what you want to see. Apparently that's what everyone else wants to see too, because there's a lot of people still watching. Wow. Okay. Look at the proof marks. Look how they come out now and they pop. Interesting. There's a repair. See that? It's a brass pin. So somewhere in here, probably this bridge right here is probably cracked. So this was ordnance rebuilt at some point. Look at this giant chunk of crud. That'll come right off. Look at that. Right back to that same original beautiful finish. So when these rifles and every rifle preceding them and preceding what is the difference of preceding? Proceeding? Well, whatever. Every rifle that came since were made, as the factory, how that works is there's a large machine that has a, look at it drying to my hand. There's a machine that has a blank in it, or a master copy, and they have a bunch of machines that copy the copy. So they turn them out on a large scale lathe, making dozens of them at a time. They would come off rough finished, and then a worker would come along, probably much like I'm doing right now, and then just buff the stock to take the sharp edges off of it. Look at that. Wow. And they would then take the stock, put them in large racks, and dunk them into a vat of hot oil, hot linseed oil, and swirl them around there for a few moments, and then pull them out to dry. Now, linseed oil can take a very long time to dry properly. I don't know what the original procedure would have been with those. Maybe they probably put them in the oven or something. And again, look at the pattern coming out in the wood. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Now, see, there's cleaned off. Ew, right? Gooky. So, go ahead and get both sides real quick. We'll probably have to do a part 1 and part 2 of this today, and I think about it. Seems like I always get the good ideas in the middle of the broadcast. And this, whatever this is, it was definitely oil. It wasn't polyurethane. It's because it's re-drying again as I'm getting it off. I'm gonna make a hell of a mess here. I'm glad I didn't wear my good shirt. There's the Ordnance P, the firing proof right there. Again, all these proof marks are something you want to see on an original piece like this. But again, look at, ugh, it's like, if I smell it, I don't know what it smells like. It's definitely just I think someone might just dunked it in oil and left it. Maybe an attempt to preserve it. Although it appears they didn't do too terrible of a job. Those of you who have ever done milsim guns, how many people have experienced the wonders of cosmoline? Thumbs up on the people who've experienced cosmoline. They, I swear they invented cosmoline without any way to take it off. Kind of like all those people that they froze their heads and had no way of bringing them back to life, but they thought maybe one day they would. Cosmoline's a great preservant. It's just absolutely disgusting to deal with. Yep, there's some thumbs up. For those of you whose wives ever had to endure you cleaning something on the kitchen table covered in cosmoline, this video is for you. This is actually coming off really fast. I don't think we're going to have to... I should take that. Ew, look at that. Okay, I have to throw that in the ultrasonic real quick. That's disgusting. Ow. Ugh, yeah, those are actually seized in there with whatever this is. Oh yeah, that's in there. Ugh. Yeah. Dried oil. In the tank it goes. Clean out around this real quick. don't see any more proof marks there. Sometimes there's rack numbers or law enforcement agencies or other countries. This one obviously never left the United States as part of Lend-Lease. It's too nice for that. Typically speaking, the ones that went to the Philippines are absolutely cruddy when you see them. Alright, so that's all good. Let's get the front hive real quick and then we'll clean the table. We're just going to keep adding crap back onto it at this point. Some more. I'm just using acetone. Might seem kind of harsh, but it's just fingernail polish remover, and it does a really good job of breaking down oils and enamels and bringing the stuff to the surface. Don't use your wife's fingernail polish remover. Go to the paint store and get yourself in your own can. I don't want to hear, well, Ghost, he told me I could use your fingernail polish remover. Yeah, no. Not going to be responsible for what the lipstick sticks gets mad about. I get this front part here. We're down to the very end of this already. Going very well. Oh yeah, there's some more grain. Okay. Said there are people walking by, so if I talk to someone, don't think I'm losing my mind. Look at the grain in this. Look at that grain. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Yeah, I don't think this rifle's probably ever even issued, to tell you the truth. This might have been in storage for the last 100 years. All right. Bump the camera. Remember, if you do like the content, you can always throw us some stars. Helps fund the war effort. It's always a help. Most people out on the holidays right now. Not really many people online, at least today and yesterday. Of course, here in Virginia, we're expecting a big storm coming tonight, so there is a chance at a white Christmas. However, everyone's freaking out. So I got it all cleaned up, and we're pretty much good on this for now. We're gonna put that to the side. We're gonna do the handguards real quick. Oh, this is gonna be gorgeous. I had traded another gun yesterday, another Enfield, and I was kind of nervous because I thought, I really shouldn't be doing this. But you know, the one I traded was an Eddystone, and it was gorgeous. I mean, someone had really taken care of it. I kept this one, which looked junkier. Well, now I'm not too upset because this is going to be just as pretty, if not prettier, as soon as this stuff is off. All right. And the last piece, and we'll clean the table real quick, and I'll clean my hands real quick. Oh, this one's really sticky though. This must be where it all settled. Watch. Ah, yeah. For extra grip. This is disgusting. One of the things on Patreon that you would get if you sign up for our Patreon account, you would get to see the video of me blowing myself up. I didn't get all the way blown up, but it's a pretty good laugh. What happened was I was heating up the wax for a stock waxing, and unbeknownst to me, the rag that the object was laying on was already soaked in acetone. Well, when the heat gun died, I thought, well, I'll make quick work of this, so I hit it with a torch. And of course, the torch and ignition source and the low, very, very low flash point of acetone made for quite an explosion. You'll hear quite a lot of cussing and screaming in the video too. It's always fun. All right, that's done. As I throw it, because it's sticking to my hands. Okay. Find the towel real quick. And we're just going to use the old acetone to clean up the mess down here. There we go. Ugh. Yeah, that was definitely some like 1920s linseed oil there. Okay. Oh, Christopher, thank you for your Thank you for your stars there. Oh. I'm sorry, I didn't see anything. Hi, Gabe. Sorry I didn't see you there. The you know me, I can't see in the ADD and everything. Sergio, thank you. Dave, thank you. Thomas. You go to first summer touch the museum. I wasn't. All right, so to answer all the questions there, Gabe, I guess you're sitting at home today. We do have t-shirts coming. They will be called the V for Victory series. And they'll be super duper awesome when they come in. Probably like second, third week of January. But yeah, we're gonna start selling merch. We're gonna do some custom dog tags. If for those who are on the Patreon page, you'll see that there are some tiers forming on there of different levels of support, and each tier comes with either a t-shirt. We're gonna do some custom art prints. We'll do something silly, sign my underwear or something. All right, so, ugh, disgusting. All right. Just bear with me while I try to get this off my hands, because if I have it still in my hands and I go to do the stuff on the gun, it's gonna translate back onto it. No, I don't wear gloves. I figure I'm probably already screwed with the amount of chemicals I've ingested over the last 20 years, so I might as well just hasten the process. At the same time, I'm actually probably completely COVID-free, considering the chemicals I've used on my hand. COVID couldn't live in this body. All right, clean. One more thing. Heck yeah, okay. All good, brother. All right. Okay, so we're gonna let that continue to cook in the ultrasonic for a second. Coming back to the wood, we're going to now use a lighter grade double-aught steel wool. This is just gonna take all the crud, all the sharp edges off. Kind of puts the luster back on it too. See that? Beautiful. This is gonna be beautiful. We'll do a whole photo shoot of it after, of course. I can already hear Gabe now thinking, did you do a before picture? No. I never do before pictures. I like to stay a mystery. How can I maintain my reputation as a miracle worker without lying a little bit? This is going to be an absolutely gorgeous Enfield. So Gabe knows Ryan. So Ryan yesterday traded me for one of my Enfields. And I was kind of butthurt about it for a little bit. And I'm like, after I saw this today, not so butthurt anymore. So haha, Ryan. You probably won't see the video. He won't see the video till later, so I don't have to worry about it. Absolutely gorgeous. Look at that. GI, perfect color, perfect consistency, beautiful wood markings underneath that chocolate brown, whatever the heck that was. Put that aside. Do this again. So I am actually going to do something different. Normally, I would do a coat of linseed oil back on this, but there is so much of it still in the grain. I do not have to bother, because whoever did it before me really overdid it, so we don't have to worry about it. Typically speaking, we would use, this is the can. This is the marvelous mystery can. The mystery can contains the mystery oil that is a known secret to only 3 people. I am one of them, and it looks that disgusting. The older it is, the more junk has fallen in it, the more dirt that's in it, the more times you've added the wrong thing to it, makes it better and better and better and better and better. So it's its own mystery. Oh, there's the smell. Gabe knows the smell, don't you, Gabe? That smell. Ooh, that smell. It gets in your pores, turns your fingernails orange. It's great. All right. So I'm going to stop that damn thing from humming now. Oh, cheers. Thank you. And open this sucker up. I'm going to see what we got. Oh boy. Ah, damn, it's hot. All right, hot. It does get hot, folks, by the way. So you remember that big patch of stuff on the bottom of this thing? See how it's gone now? Nice and smooth. So what I am seeing here is I am seeing Parkerizing. Okay, this has been Parkerized, which means that this weapon was in fact restored for service prior to World War II. When these came out, they originally blued. They were shiny blue. And now this one is that slate gray color. So this was restored and used for issued to World War II. That's why it's slate gray color. The bolt, God, that's hot. Good grief. Is hot and all clean now. See the ordnance bomb right there. Right there. Oh, it's got ordnance bomb and it says, oh, okay, we have an interesting piece here. We have an interesting piece. Hold on, I need my notes. Hey, Alex, tell me you threw out that last piece of paper that I had. What? You threw out the last piece of paper I had, didn't you? The fourth piece of paper? I did. Uh-oh. We have a unique piece here. I have it. Sweet. We have a unique piece. Everyone stand by for the reveal. Let me get the fourth piece of notes straight from the trash can. Awesome. Okay, so let me find the note on it so that I know I'm not tripping. Tripping. Great technical term. Trip. USMC. Okay. So on the bolt here, we have the stamp. USMC. You see it right there. Okay? So naturally, all the Marine Corps collectors are like, oh my God, it's Marine Corps. No, not Marine Corps. Kind of like the United States Medical Corps knives. Everyone thought it was Marine Corps bolos. No, they're Medical Corps knives. They're for cutting wood into litters. All right, so before and during World War II, stored rifles were reconditioned for use as reserve training and lend-lease weapons. These rifles were identified by having a finished metal, like we talked about, sandblasted finish, Parkerized gray. The stocks were sometimes replaced with birch. Not this time. It's the same original wooden stock. Some of these rifles were then reconditioned with new bolts. So if the headspace was off when they pulled this weapon, they would issue a new bolt for it to make sure the headspace was put back into check. The headspace and the bolts were stamped USMC. The bolt is made by the great illustrious military contractor, you're gonna love this, the United Shoe Machinery Company, stamped USMC. So, World War II being World War II, needing stuff, probably didn't need a whole lot of shoemakers during the war, other than those who were already making boots. So, the company that made the machines that make shoes stepped forward and made bolts for these rifles. This one being one of those bolts, stamped USMC. Folks, this is why I can't remember my phone number or simple dates like I think it's Christmas, because my mind is full of silly fun facts like this. And that's why my wife thinks I'm crazy. Actually, I am crazy. Certified crazy, but also certified not a danger to the public. So take that. Sure, that's going to draw a lot of love. Love the pattern 1917. Also have the 1914. Yes, Michael, the 1914s are often in a lot worse shape than these. They are always beat to snot. The British do not store things very, very well. Let me check all the comments here because I think I'm losing people. Good stuff. Thank you all who are making comments. All right, on to the main event. Let's pull the receiver out. It has cooled off a little bit. So you'll see it does have dried gook all over it, but it is a lot cleaner. We're gonna let that dry for a second. Put that over here and get the other pieces out. I should have a little tray around here to put these things in so I could clean the screws too, because well, you know what, screw it, we'll forget that. We'll put this on here. Here are the screws. We'll just go ahead and give them a squirt of anyone who often asks for recommendations. I have been working on guns now for over 30 years. Yes, I'm not old. And of all the oils and treatments I have used, you hear everyone from, what was that? Frog lube. Well, that stuff was crap. A CLP, WD-40, Balstrol, all those things. I'm sure someone's going to say, yes, it is in good shape. This is the company. This is it. Tetra. I'm not making a plug here. Yes, we do sell this in the store, but of all other products I have used in my life, this is essential. This is essential. Does have Teflon in it, so don't be drinking it. But this is the stuff. So we're gonna line this up and spray our small parts with this. This is just basically almost like a brake cleaner. We'll spray everything off with it. That's gonna lift all the crud that has boiled to the surface out. Oh, that gray park race finish is beautiful. Beautiful. I keep saying beautiful a lot. It's like Bob Ross, you know, happy little trees. But we got happy little guns today. Happy little guns. Happy little guns, slaying some Huns, you know, as one does. Let's see some laughs on that one. That was pretty good. Happy little guns, slaying some Huns. Laugh? Anybody? Anybody? No one? Really? Wow, terrible. Okay, well, on that note, let me find some brushes. So when you are cleaning these guns, there's all the laughs. Thank you, people are paying attention. All right. When you start cleaning one of these things, one thing you want to pay attention to is what you're using as a brush. Because for some reason, they sell all three kinds of brushes usually together, but you don't want to use all three. You want to use either a toothbrush or a brass brush. Let me say this again, not brass washed, solid brass. Brass has a much lower, would have a much lower hardness than the finish on the gun. So that will not take off finish. If you have a revolver or a pistol that is rusty and you use a brass brush on it, you'll start to see a yellowish gold haze forming. Don't panic. Don't panic. That is just the brass itself melting, essentially. Once you wipe the gun down with oil, the rust will be gone, the brass will be gone. Let me see if I can demonstrate. Not really much stuff on this to get rid of. This is just dried oil, but you're just gonna, there. See the gold? See that gold forming? Don't panic. You don't really have to do that with this thing. It is already pretty clean. We're gonna jump into the spray off. Don't get a gunsmith that uses all the oil. I don't even know what he does with it. He doesn't hardly cleans any guns, but he uses all the oil. Anyway, Alex, can you bring me another can of this? It's sitting on top of the square cube over there. It's the last can we had. Terrible. I need to order some more of this because everyone will be complaining, and I just broke the top of it. That's even better. All right. Now we got some horsepower. Everybody ready? There we go. Gone. 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 All right. Let that dry. Clear. Parts over there. I'm going to do a wipe down again real quick. We're going to put all this dirt back on the gun. Typically speaking, not what you want to best do. Okay. Clean. All right, so it's got this kind of dry, hazy look to it now because what has happened is the astringents have lifted the oil that was in the weapon off of it. We are going to take again our very light steel wool, and we're going to be very gentle with it because this does have a harder hardness than the finish on this. But if you're careful, it's not going to work. So we're going to use our polymer oil and get this thing to spray and not shoot a jet off of it on there. Well, I should dry that up. Maybe I'll use the torch. No? Okay. We're just going to spray it down. All right, and this is just going to take that crud off the surface. We're just going to give it a little, very light buff. Look at that. Perfect. There it is. That's what you want to see, that gray park. I want to talk about that gray-green park. That's it. There's that gray-green park. Normally, you could use some compressed air to blow this out of there. I'm not near the compressor today, so we're just going to do it the old-fashioned way. There actually is the ordnance stamp, and there is the proof mark that's been rebuilt right there, that little punch. Let me take that down and get underneath there. Huh. Is that pitting or is that just goo? It's goo. Okay. Put that back up there. So forget it later and I'm like, why doesn't this go back together? All right. Now you'll see that the control pieces, the trigger, which is also proof marked on there, the safety proof marked. Interesting. The safety is an Eddystone safety, an Eddystone trigger. So when they rebuilt this thing, they swapped those things out too for some reason. But you know what? One thing I've learned, the Army is never wrong, ever. So whatever they did, it's the right thing to do. Right? Right. Okay, find a towel. Okay. And then we get up here, you can see the date of this rifle, particularly being January 1918, right there. We will get the chamber here in a minute. Let's get all this dried stuff. Hey, we got Eddystone. Nope, we have a Remington front sight. Now, a lot of people will spend a lot of time and effort making their guns 100%. The manufacturer's original. I mean, I was guilty of it too with carbines. Carbines are the one thing you should never even attempt it with because they were always mismatched. Even when they came from this factory, they were mismatched. But this is your difference in American arms manufacture and every other country. Whereas America, you just make a lot of parts and you can assemble the guns. Whereas in other countries, they would often just make the gun. So there'd be little nuances that are different. Like, is anyone ever run into the German K98 Mauser cleaning rod fiasco where you don't know which cleaning rod your particular Mauser has? It could be only one of like 7. You can never find the right one. It's either too long or too short. So my question was, what happens if you're with a buddy who didn't have the same cleaning rod? Because it had to have 3 people to have the cleaning rod work. That must have been interesting. Didn't matter. Just drop the gun and run away when the Russians are coming. All right, that's good. This, we got to get to the finish line. Finish line's the best part. There. So we have our our shoe company made bolt. Very nice. And our rear stock swivel. And I recommend that, obviously someone didn't do this on this one, but you know, if you have a lot of guns, check them. You know, particularly like here in Tidewater where the air is already salt infused. It is a constant battle against rust. For me, it's, if any of you ever seen the story, you know it's probably an absolutely constant dread of mine that something gets rusty. Actually, I had a display that I did 2 weeks ago. I pulled out a gun to show a patron, and it was rusty. Talk about embarrassing. All right, but check them every 3 months if they're in storage. You should clean them every 6, even if you haven't touched it, because dust will accumulate, and dust actually does have a degree of moisture in it, and that can lead to rusting. I'll wipe these all up real quick. This, the barrel band was the one that had the most goo on it, probably because where the oil settled. Gabe, you can't say Japs online. They get mad about that. I just said Japs. Uh-oh, great. Thanks a lot, Gabe. I'm going to lose the feed because of you. Way to be a team player. Get that under there. All right. So now, all the under parts, make sure you oil your under parts. Under parts oiled. We're going to go ahead and put this thing back in and stop. Actually, wait a minute. Got to get this concentrated mustard gas out of here. It's just dust. It's nothing insidious. This just drops back into this like that. It's not really much to, I mean, when you get to the grands and carbines as well, is
crazy procedures to get everything back the right way. These, you just drop the receiver back in the stock and you're done. Just make sure that that is equal on both sides, or you're going to be hating life a little bit. Oh, see, I already screwed it up. I'm out of the track. Don't listen to me, folks. I'm not a professional. I'll make this up as I go. There we go. There we go. All right, that's back in there. Put that back over. Look down in the magazine. We'll see if there's any more things hiding in there. There's a little bit. Okay. I'm going to put the magazine itself back in. And the follower goes in the magazine. Actually, I should have put that on before I put that back in. There we go. And then the floor plate. One of the manifestations of my ADD is I say the same thing over and over and over again in my own head, so I'll be saying floor plate for the next 3 weeks. Floor plate. So when these things, you're doing this, you got oil and stuff going everywhere, that is fine. You know, the more the merrier. I had a old motor pool maintenance sergeant, Woody, who told me that of all the things military maintenance wise, I'd rather have ooey and gooey than dry and rusty. Tight. So today we'll use the German torque, yeah? Good and tight. Good and tight. So oil everything 3, clean every 6. Look, check, inspect every 3. If you see something, obviously oil it. And then just flat out clean every 6 minutes. And Sergio, I clean enough of your crap to know that you don't do that. So yeah, get with the ball, pal. All right. Inspect every 3 months. Of course, for those of you sitting in your man room bunkers, I'm sure you probably fondle your weapons far more than that. And by the way, fondling weapons, if you touch your guns a lot with your hands have what on them? Sweat. Sweat has what in it? Salt. And then oil on your hands, which causes sweat and salt to stick to gun. Make bad thing. On this absolutely gorgeous 1911 right here, this one is a family piece. This one went over there in 1917 with 102nd Engineers and with my great uncle. But you'll notice on the side, when he gave it to me when I was a kid and didn't know any better, I touched it and then didn't clean it. And I took a 99% pistol and made it a 95% pistol because it had rust bubble on there. But still a gorgeous piece. We'll talk about these later. Actually, good announcement for next week. Dave Hall, who is a former SEAL and one of the guys over the Silent Warrior Foundation, we will be doing a whole series on 1911s. And that will be a very good series we're going to do, because the 1911 was used from 1911 obviously all the way up until the 1980s. And he will be here showing off his very impressive collection of guns from Acid Gambit to Vietnam and beyond. So definitely don't miss that. All right. Coming in the home stretch here. We're going to put this back on. My alarm just went off, and I realize I am now over an hour, but there are still lots of people watching, so we're just going to keep going. All right, put that back in. Put that back in. I should probably, and for time's expedience sake, have removed the butt plate and checked under that, because that's where a lot of moisture likes to hide. But, we'll do it here in a second, why not? I feel like going back and doing this again. All right. Okay, tight. Plate like a toilet. All right. Top rear handguard back on, barrel band, bring it down, second handguard or front handguard underneath the barrel band, put that back down. Okay, flip this over. Uh-oh, found it. We're good. We've had to have a short break there for a while. This still has a lot of crud on it. We're gonna clean that off real quick. Gooey and gooey. Ooey and gooey. Yes, ooey and gooey. That's a technical term, ooey and gooey. Let me check the messages real quick. Thanks for the lots of useful information. Think about buying a rack rate on $1,000. Don't know if the total garbage junk or dis. To Wyatt, there's nothing wrong with the rack rate M1s. You can always make them better. They are infinitely updatable. The only thing you have to have is a solid receiver and solid barrel. Quite typically speaking, I don't think they have any anymore that are World War II dated barrels, and you probably, if you want to intend on shooting that thing with any kind of accuracy, you wouldn't want one of those. But you can always take the grand in hand, and swap out parts, you know, find a better stock, add them all together to get an all correct one. But yeah, if you have access to the CMP, I highly recommend picking one up, because they're not going to have them forever, and they are still so cheap on there. I mean, an M1 Garand is going to cost you in the open market anywhere up to, you know, $2,500. So you're going to want to take advantage of Garands. I think on CMP they're $650 still. So yeah, okay. So yeah, if you can still get a CMP Garand, go for it. If you need any help with it, by all means, give us a call or shoot us a text. We can point you in the right direction. All right. Okay. So that's done. That's done. That's done. Let's take a look at the bore real quick. We got a little bit of chunky in there, so we're just gonna run a bore snake through it. Yeah, if someone didn't move the bore snakes. Amateurs. Amateurs everywhere. I don't know who that dog is barking, but it's been barking for a long time. Alright. I know the bore is good. Just gonna pull a snake through it real quick to clean out the chunk from the ultrasonic. It is gorgeous, to take my word for it. Okay, and the bolt. So now, the safety back on, there you go. Pull a little switch. Put down the bolt. Okay. All right. So there is one more part to this equation, and those of you who know me know what I'm going to say. Hopefully take it to heed. When the rifles were finished at the factory, when they were overhauled, they would take the entire gun, everything included, and dunk it in a hot vat of wax. That sealed the stock, sealed the moisture in the stock, sealed moisture out of the stock also, and it gave it a certain luster. So here at Ghost to the Battlefield / Ghost Army. Ghost Army, so for those of you who are confused, Ghost Army is a parent company that is actually a gun store here in Virginia Beach, and Ghost to the Battlefield is a subset of said such, and it is basically a museum inside of a store. Well, actually now it's more like become a gift shop that sells guns inside of a museum. So we're gonna heat this wax that we make here up real quick. So having done this for a million years, I've been seeing other people do it. I made my own stock wax. We call it boomstick butter. If If you ask the U.S. Army, they call it butt butter, because we actually helped them out with some of the restorations up at Fort Myer. They love to call it butt butter for some reason. So you're gonna just get that stuff on everything, get it all on every little joint. I like to say that for those of you who are kids of the 90s, remember the movies, it's like warm apple pie. So we're gonna get that whole thing gooey. You can get it on the metal, doesn't hurt it. Actually, it will keep the dust off of it. So get that all. Wow. Knowing how this is gonna look is just, well, sometimes I impress even myself. All right, so, all smeared on there. We'll go ahead and, you don't have to use a heat gun. You can use a hair dryer if you want to. If your wife isn't gonna kill you. But, ask Tyler Robbins. I don't know if Tyler's on today, but Tyler, yeah, his wife loves it when he does this at home. We're just gonna heat it up. Get it to even out, spread out a little bit. So this replicates the dunking it in a heated vat of this. You just don't have the space for a heated vat while I do it. Just gonna get it even up. You see the sheen. All right. Do a little bit of bench cleaning while this. So the rule of thumb with the wax is to, you can let it dry for 30 minutes or not overnight. So if you put it on there for 30 minutes, it comes out the best. If you let it dry for 30 minutes, we're obviously not gonna do that today because I feel like talking for 30 minutes. But don't leave it sit overnight. It'll turn rock solid hard, just like the stuff we already took off this damn thing. So we're just gonna take a rag like any other rag and we're just gonna polish it like shoes. And there. See the luster? Thumbs up, see the luster. Thumbs up, see the luster. That is the correct luster. That shows that there is a thin coat of wax on the wood and it is keeping moisture both in the wood and out of the wood. So you want to keep the right amount of moisture in there. You can tell just by looking at it. Look at that luster, that's perfect. That's why I didn't bother with the linseed oil on this thing, because the wood on this is so soaked with it. You're not gonna, it's just gonna roll off, so there's no point. We're gonna go ahead and polish the whole thing now. Look at that luster. Gorgeous. Like I've done this before. I didn't take that butt plate off. Well, you know what? We're not going to. Gonna be bad boys, not do the whole job right. As that same motor pool sergeant would say, not enough time to do it right the first time, plenty of time to do it again. So you see the how it gets in the cracks right here. What you're gonna do, or want to do, you can get it from Walmart, is you're gonna get a boot brush, right? Just gonna do that. Pulls it out of the cracks, right? Good to go. Polish, polish, polish. We're almost to the end. Happy little gun. Slaying some Huns. If you're offended, if you're German and offended, I'm sorry. My wife is German too, so she can be offended, and y'all can be offended together. But this gun was made for slaying Huns. That is a fact. Again, stuff in the crack. And going. Gorgeous. Oh man. Pretty. Is it wrong? Here's a question for everyone who's still watching. Is it wrong to be so happy and warm on the inside about a killing instrument? A duality, no? What do we all think? Am I sweating yet? No, not really. It's pretty cold in here, actually. We're almost there. Now look at the proof marks. Look at them.
Look at them, I said. Look. Springfield Army Arsenal. E, probably for Earl McFarland, I'm thinking.
I don't know if McFarland, he was one of the inspectors at the Arsenal. I don't know if he inspected these or not. Imagine your job all day is to take every rifle in the Army, shoot it 3 times, check it for defects, and put it back in the rack. Probably get pretty damn tired of it, actually. All right. Got a little bit of crud right here on the recoil lug. Out of there. Flip it over. That sounds good. All right. So this will be about the end of it. And my wife has no idea how many I have. Well, here's a trick for you, Michael. What I learned a very long time ago is that one gun kind of looks like another. And they really don't typically know the difference between new ones coming and old ones going. So, but I will say this, I'll be fair, because you'll probably watch it later. My wife always had more of a problem with me selling them than buying them, simply because she wanted to know why I was selling them. Like if something was up or we needed money or whatever. But no, if you're looking to have a woman who doesn't mind, you couldn't even see that before. Now it sticks out. You know, a very wise man that Gabe knows who it is, said to me one time, and it was 100% as true today as it is the other day, classic military firearms are an investment. They never, almost never, ever lose value. To buy this gun 5 years ago would have cost you about $400, $500. Now they're over $1,000. And that's a doubling of value. Damn it, got another hour? Is, you know, double your investment in 5 years. Garands, when I first started collecting, were $350. And now they're $2,500. I'm not even that old. I just don't think I am. But we are coming towards the end of this sucker. Clean that side there. All right. So this has gone very well today, folks. And I think the results speak for itself. You can see that the extractor was actually replaced at some time too. Probably after they put a new bolt in it, because it's 2 different colors. Or it's just the spring steel is looking different because I oiled it. But we're just gonna wipe it all down. All right. So there is what I consider to be a field level maintenance. No, not field level. You wouldn't do this in the field. This is not really depot either. I guess it's probably rear echelon maintenance. That's the thing. That is to completely strip the gun apart, check it for all functionality. Oh, that's another thing we can do. These are snap caps, by the way. So not everyone freak out. All right, we'll do a little ASMR here for all everybody. Normally I'd have a stripper clip, but I don't. Sorry, up right here. 1, 2. Man, I sure hope this works. It's gonna be embarrassing, doesn't it? 3, 4, 5. And here's they fly out. Ah! Yep. Did it fast so that way I don't have to keep flicking them. Yep, that's all good. Extractor's functional. Bore is clean. Chamber's clean. All oiled. Good to go. Extractor's good and tight. Headspace seemed good and tight. Actually, very tight. Tight headspace is okay. You don't want loose headspace, obviously, but I think that this one was obviously hasn't been fired since it was restored by the Army. All right, so was because of the upgrades and changes. Hold on a second, I can't see all the messages. Catch up here. I have a question. Why are the simple bolt styles in a 303 British better than any stock or bonds? Yep. I believe I bought mine. It's for 150. I have no idea. I never understand the feeling everyone has probably done. Okay. You can load 6. Yeah, you could load 6. You could top it off. Totally. But, all right, so different styles of the 03 bolt.
I think you're referring probably to the cocking piece on the back of it. The early ones from pre-World War I were rounded. The ones in World War II were striated, square. I think that's probably just for a better grip. I don't think it was any particular reason why that was that way. It's just, you know, also ease of manufacture. Think about it. You could stamp or cast a square piece better than you could a round. A round would have to be machined, so that's easy to manufacture. That's another way. So interesting. The #1 series Enfields were a series of rifles that had a lot of variations, culminating all the way with the #4 Mark I or #4 Mark II, and each time they upgraded them was just a way to make it easier to make. England was more concerned with getting enough rifles out there in order to, you know, obviously save their hides with the onslaught, the Germans coming, and so hence their big part of their process was to crack off enough guns that were needed so that they could defend themselves. So yeah, anything that could, so it's really ease of manufacture is what I'm going to go with for my primary answer on that one. Is you know, getting enough guns out there available for everybody to have something in their hands in case they came across the channel. So easy manufacture is the main one. Reliability a little bit. I mean, the Enfield is already a very reliable gun. So, all right, there's that. There's that. Here is America's turn of the century weapon, an absolutely terrible gun. The model 1898 Craig Jorgensen. Good idea, not so great in execution. One of the only times we went into a war with an inferior weapon to the enemy. Okay. Okay. So there it was. There was cleaning the 1917. The stock came out beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I'll put the sling back on and put it back in the display case. Anyone who's local can come by and see her. Divine oil in there. Came out absolutely stunning. If anyone ever has any questions about restoring their guns, oh, look at that. See that right there, the dark and the light? That is a heat treatment differential. If anyone has any questions about restoring military vintage firearms, by all means send us a message. So far as support goes, again, check out our Patreon page. I know Sergio already has. Check out that Patreon page. It's a way to support us for what we do here as we become more and more of a museum. And for those of you who have never been here, I think it's pretty impressive. Again, like, share, comment, post it to your friends. We will have, like I said, we have the 1911 series coming up next week after Christmas. I might throw in another couple of these this week if I have time. Oh, next week we have received a collection of letters from a sailor in the Pacific who are rather interesting, and we're going to have one of the ladies here dress up and read them as if she's receiving them, and we're not going to tell her what's in the letters until she actually reads it, so it'll be quite interesting. Keep an eye out for that. We'll call it Letters to the Home Front. You'll see it on the page soon enough. But if anyone has any other questions, let me check the feed again. What do we got here? Great job, thank you, Michael. I still use mine, a great 500 yards. Yep. Mine is straight and square. Yep. I am live online. Yes, you can actually load 6, one extra. Stocks are good. Okay, so if anyone has any other questions, please, you have a few moments to send them up there. Also, I just was reminded as one of our good friends, Dave Huffman, walked by. If you guys see on my page the POW MIA Association links, go ahead and like those folks over there. They do a lot of good work for POWs, MIAs. They came out to our event we had. We had their t-shirts here available for sale. And they're an organization that can use some support as well. So comments in the section. Send some stars if you want. Support us on Patreon. That's a big thing. That's our big push right now. And we will come back and we will probably do the 03 Springfield and the Craig Jorgensen if we have to next week or so. And again, remember, next week we are definitely having the 1911 exhibition. Every 1911, from 1911 all the way through the 80s, including Acid Gambit, Operation Eagle Claw, Sante Raid, Vietnam, Korea, so on and so forth. Keep an eye out for that. It's going to be great. If anyone has any questions, please go ahead and send me a message directly at this point. And have a good day. Have a Merry Christmas. I probably won't see you all until after Christmas, or I might be bored on Christmas Day and do one. Who knows? But again, thanks for coming out. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of this. One thing to take away from this is that if you find one of these old guns, you can always do something to help preserve it. Remember, we are nothing but temporary stewards. These guns will exist long after I am gone. Hopefully not long after the museum is gone. But they can always be brought back to at least some kind of condition, even if they are completely rusty and damaged. I'll do a story on the Mauser that I'm restoring here shortly. Anyway, thanks again. Have a great day and a wonderful holiday season. Thank you.